يا أهل الجنة إن ربكم تبارك وتعالى يستزيركم فحي على زيارته
سبحانه وتعالى وبحمده، والصلاة والسلام على نبيه ورضوانا على صحابته وتابعهم حتى نلقاه. أما بعد, before inshallah we begin today's lesson, I would like to just mention a few things, or the structure of what our classes, or how our classes will be presented inshallah ta'ala. Actually, before I do mention that, remember last week I did not mention why it was important to follow one madhab, especially in our initial stages of study. Especially in our initial stages of study, it is so important for us to follow a specific madhab to begin with. And I can't just say, oh, because this was the way of our salaf, and just stop there. Because we know all of the salaf, or 99.9% of them, they followed a specific madhab until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them such knowledge which they were able to branch out. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed them to become mujtahid, mutlaq and so on, and they were able to branch out. And I'm sure the examples are countless. Examples are countless. So one example which I normally give to prove the importance of studying a madhab is this issue of what is called talfiq, if I'm not wrong, in the Arabic language, whereby you will mix up certain things from between certain madhahib, which will then render your act to be invalid. Example, wudu and salah, they go hand in hand. Now, every madhab has specific rulings for both. So, for example, one might do wudu and not follow the sequence, and they'll say, oh, I follow Imam Abu Hanifa in this matter. Imam Abu Hanifa, he says, rahimahullah, that following a sequence is not a must. Okay, following the sequence of wudu, meaning to wash your face first, then your arms and so on, is not a must. Whereas Imam Shafi'ī, rahimahullah, says, your wudu is not valid unless you follow a sequence. Okay? And someone might ask, who the hell is going to go and wash their feet first anyway? And then go and wash their face and so on. According to Imam Shafi'ī, rahimahullah, inshallah, when we get to wudu, we'll discuss it further. Say, for example, someone does wudu and then they remember they didn't wash their face. They'll go back, they'll have to wash their face, and whatever comes after it, they have to, even though they washed it. But Imam Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah, will say, no, it's sufficient for you to just wash your face. So anyway, this individual will follow Imam Abu Hanifa and say, I follow the Hanafi fiqh in wudu. And then come to salah, he starts to bleed and the blood starts to flow before the salah. According to Imam Abu Hanifa, that will break their wudu. According to Imam Shafi'ī, that will not break their wudu. But then this individual is going to say, oh no, I follow Imam Shafi'ī in this. I'm going to pray according to Imam Shafi'ī, so I've still got wudu. So you don't have wudu, your salah is invalid according to both imams which you claim to follow right now. Because you don't have wudu in the first place according to Imam Shafi'ī. And you don't have wudu according to Imam Abu Hanifa because you broke it through bleeding. This is why it's so important to stick to one madhab. This is just one of the many examples. It's important to stick to just that one madhab, and then inshallah when you get to a certain level of study, you'll be able to branch out. And if you feel a certain mas'ala is stronger, sincerely and the likes, then walillah alhamd, you can follow it. Khair. So just quick recap of last week, what we did last week. So we mentioned the sources of evidence, remember, when it comes to getting dala'il and so on. And we said the first was Al-Quran, and examples are many. One of them where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَحَلَّ اللَّهُ الْبَيْعَ وَحَرَّمَ الرِّبَا. Allah has made transactions halal, and He has forbidden riba, khalas, that's it. The hukum is riba haram, basic transactions halal. And then we said the second one was as-sunnah. Sunnah meaning the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and examples of this as well are many. And why it's important? Because there are some rulings which you will not find in the Quran. example, that, like I have here, men wearing gold or silk. It is not in the Quran, but we know according to a hadith, this has been made haram for men to wear gold or silk. The third one we said was al-ijma', consensus of the ummah. An example that we have today is the Sahaba. They all agreed that in the absence of a father, the grandfather in terms of inheritance will get the same amount as the father. So 1/6 as a parent. But this is not in the Quran or nor in hadith. But this is a ijma'an according to the companions. And then we said the fourth type was, who remembers? Qiyas. Jazakumullah khair. Qiyas, analogical reasoning, where we gave an example of Jum'ah and Dhuhr, where Imam Shafi'ī, for example, rahimahullah, says Jum'ah is a replacement of Dhuhr. So the same rulings of Dhuhr will apply to Jum'ah, where you would pray the same raka'at when it comes to the Sunan. And then we quickly mentioned as well the 5 main rulings. 5 main rulings which we will go over so many times. We mentioned they were fard, the fara'id acts, and we spoke about fard being fard ayn and fard kifaya and so on. And we said fard acts are acts which are rewarded for doing and one is punished for leaving out. Example, salah, siyam, zakah, hajj and the likes. Second one we said was sunnah. Acts one is rewarded for doing, but they are not punished for leaving out. Sunan rawatib and the likes. Obviously, this is just examples, but these are things that are very, very emphasized to do. But if one does not do them, they are not sinful. And if you can remember, who can remember the synonymous words we use for sunnah according to the Shafi'i fiqh? Mandub, mustahab, yeah, and the like. So all of these words, so mustahab, mandub, sunnah, they all fall in the same category according to the Shafi'i madhab. And then you had mubah, acts which you're not rewarded for doing, nor are you punished for leaving out. And then we had makruh acts, acts which one is rewarded for leaving out, but they're not punished for doing. But some ulama have said if you do certain makruh acts often and you repeat them, one will fall into sin because of that. And the last, of course, but not least of all rulings we mentioned was haram, acts which one is rewarded for leaving out and punished for committing. And examples of that are countless as well. Okay, Bismillah. Bismillah, and we will begin inshallah with the author's introduction to the Kitāb, where he, rahimahullah ta'ala, he starts off the Kitāb. Inshallah, I'll recite the Arabic, then I will translate. Where he, rahimahullah, he says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin Nabiyyi wa alihi at-Tahirin wa sahabatihi ajma'in. قال القاضي أبو شجاع أحمد بن الحسين بن أحمد الأصفهاني رحمه الله تعالى. So he starts off by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He starts off by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and after that he says, سألني بعض الأصدقاء حفظهم الله تعالى. So he says that some of my friends or some of my companions came to me and they requested or they asked أن أعمل مختصرا في الفقه على مذهب الإمام الشافعي رحمة الله تعالى عليه ورضوانه. So he says, one of my friends asked me to write a short treatise or short work on fiqh according to the madhab of Imam al-Shafi'i rahmatullahi ta'ala. And then he says, في غاية الاختصار ونهاية الإيجاز. So and he says to make it short and to encompass all topics within this work of his. ليقرب على المتعلم درسه ويسهل على المبتدئ حفظه. So the one who is studying it, it becomes easy for them to understand its meaning and for the beginner to memorize it. So this was the way of the Salaf. They would memorize everything. They would memorize everything. Students would be advised to memorize specific texts and so on as well. And then he says, وَأَنْ أُكْثِرَ فِيهِ مِنَ التَّقْسِيمَاتِ وَحَصْرِ الْخِصَالِ. So he says, and in it to include all topics and categories again. And then he says, فأجبته إلى ذلك طالبا للثواب راغبا إلى الله تعالى في التوفيق للصواب إنه على ما يشاء قدير وبعباده لطيف خبير. So he says, and then for that I responded, seeking help and success from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Most High, in order to do so. For verily Allah is capable over whatever He wishes to do, and kind and knowledgeable of His servants. So he, rahimahullah, begins with his intro, and with this, before we get to the first chapter, from here we learn that it is a must. It's a must upon us to ask the scholars with matters pertaining to al-ilm. When it comes to matters pertaining to al-ilm, we have to go to scholars and ask them. And don't even put myself in that category. Only from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has allowed me to spread whatever I have learned and teach whatever I have learned. But with regards to pertaining to matters of the deen, it is a must for us to read, to study, and to listen attentively, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells us, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Then ask those people of knowledge if you do not know. And that is a command to all of us. And we see that these individuals or his friends, they responded to this verse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They acted in accordance to this verse, and they went to ask those who knew. So they did their part, and he did his part. Khair. We begin with our first chapter, Kitāb ut-Tahārah. Okay, Kitāb ut-Tahārah, the chapter of purification. Chapter of purification. Now, so at-Tahārah, we all know linguistically it means to purify or cleanliness, to attain cleanliness, and so on. The Shaykh, now before we actually begin with what the Shaykh he says, nearly all scholars, when it comes to the books of fiqh and so on, they all start with this chapter of Tahārah. They all start with this chapter of Tahārah because it is a condition to many, many things. To many ibadat. As-salah, without Tahārah, you're not praying. Okay, and if you pray, your salah is not valid. As-siyam, if we take a metaphorical meaning of at-Tahārah, purification of the inner self, the soul, and so on. One has to be pure in their intentions, in fasting, so it is a must. Or if we take the literal meaning again, women, for example, when they are at a specific time of the month, they are not allowed to fast without this. So Tahārah, again, important. Zakah, again, the inner purification of the heart. We're giving it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is az-zakah is purification of your wealth. It is at-Tahārah. Taharatul mal. And then you have Hajj. We know, of course, there are certain things you cannot do without being in the state of purity. So you'll find that all scholars, or majority of them, they will begin with Kitāb ut-Tahārah, the chapter of purification. طيب. Now the scholar himself, the Musannif, he begins with the chapter types of water which it is permissible to use. So, types of water permissible to purify oneself with. The Musannif, he says, Al-miyahu allati yajuzu biha at-tathhiru sab'u miyah. So, the types of water which one is permitted to use in order to attain tahara, in order to attain purity, are 7. Okay, there are 7 types. Now, this, to attain purity, it could be wudu, to perform ghusl, the literal meaning if you want to clean your clothes from najasa, and so on. There are 7 types of water that one is permitted to use. And he lists them down now. So the first one, ma'us sama. Second, inshallah I'll give the translation. Ma'us sama. Second, ma'ul bahr, wa ma'ul nahr, wa ma'ul bi'r, wa ma'ul ayn, wa ma'ul thalj, wa ma'ul barad. So translations, number 1, ma'us sama, rainwater. Rainwater is the first type of water which one is allowed to perform wudu in, or one is allowed to use in order to perform or to attain tahara, to attain purity. And when we know this by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us, وَيُنَزِّلُ عَلَيْكُم مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ مَاءً لِيُطَهِّرَكُم بِهِ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, and we send down water from the skies so that you can purify yourself with it. So this is the first type. And then you have ma'ul bahr, which is sea water. Sea water, one is also permitted to use this for attaining purity with. Third type of water, river water. One is permitted to use river water in order to attain purity. And we can see that all of these somewhat come from the sky, from the verse which we just quoted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when it comes to ma'ul bahr, which we just mentioned, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was asked with regards to this, and he said, وَهُوَ الطَّهُورُ مَاؤُهُ الْحِلُّ مَيْتَتُهُ. So this is the sea where, with regards to the sea, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, the water is clean for you, and the food inside is clean for you. Maytatuhu, meaning it's dead animals inside. So this is basically where we get everything in the sea is halal, in short. But obviously some animals within, some have said are makruh and the likes, but you've got others who say that it's not permissible and the likes. But we have this hadith here from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam where he says that al-hillu maytatuhu, meaning the dead bodies within, or the dead animals within, or the animals within are halal for you. So for example, according to Shafi'ī and the majority of the ulama, octopus halal, squid halal, shark halal, what other food? I'm sure you're eaters here, foodies. Huh? Prawn. Yeah, prawn. What else is there? Crab, lobster, na'am. All of these types of food, they're halal. But according to Ahnaf, for example, this mayta, or this food from the sea, it has to be classed as fish. It has to be known as fish. Soon as this name changes, this food is not halal for you. So octopus, not permissible, according to Hanafiya. Any shellfish that you got, crabs, lobsters, not permissible according to Hanafiya. Squid, not permissible according to Hanafiya. But prawns, there is ikhtilaf in the matter within the madhab, and majority of them, they are open to it and they accept it. Some say it's makruh, but they accept it. But other than that, it has to be deemed as fish for it to be halal. So anyway, according to us and according to majority of the ulama, the mayta in the sea is all halal. And then you have river water. The fourth type of water, well water. Now, water from the well. Water from the well, which we probably don't see. You have to go back home to see these kind of things, where wells are dug and so on. This, like we said, we have to go back home to actually understand what this type of water is. Number 5, spring water. Number 6, snow. Even though one, as a solid, you won't class it as water, but it is a type of water. And you have the last one, ma'ul barad, which is hail or it will be like hailstones and so on, like hail or dew, some call it as well. So the last two, snow and hail, you can perform wudu with it or you can perform ghusl with it, but of course once it turns into water. So obviously you'll hold on to it, and due to the temperature of the human body and so on, it just melts to water. So these 7 types of water, three which we say, 3 or 4, 3 from the sky which we see them with our own eyes, so rainwater, snow and hail, we see this coming down with our own eyes, they are permissible to perform wudu with, and the rest of the water coming from the earth is also permissible to perform wudu with. Khair. So we understand from this that all types of water from the sky and all types of water from the earth, natural water, is permissible to use to purify oneself with. طيب. Next is we have the categories of water. So the Musannif rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, ثُمَّ الْمِيَاهُ عَلَىٰ أَرْبَعَةِ أَقْسَامٍ. Now then, water is categorized into 4 categories. Now, some of the Shafi'ī fiqh books you'll find, they say that they're categorized into 3 categories. But we'll explain why, or anyway the difference is. So he, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, the first type, طاهر مطهر غير مكروه وهو الماء المطلق. So again, inshallah, as we go on anyway, throughout the course, I'm going to make a habit of reading the Arabic, and then we will translate, inshallah. So it's good for us just to go through the text itself. And then he says the second type, وطاهر مطهر مكروه وهو الماء المشمس وطاهر غير مطهر وهو الماء المستقمل والمتغير بما خالطه من الطاهرات. And the third or the last type, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says وماء نجس. So he's told us that there's 4 types of water, so 4 categories. Okay, so 4 categories. First type, or the first category, is pure and purifying, which is not offensive to use. So it is not makruh. It is not disliked for one to use these type of water for performing tahara, or for someone to attain tahara. And he says وَهُوَ الْمَاءُ الْمُطْلَقُ, and this is pure water. Who can give an example of pure water or plain water? Sorry? Okay, Zamzam. Who can give an example, another example of pure or plain water? Spring? River water? Sea water? Rain? Okay, so we're understanding now the question, yeah? So, Ma'ul Mutlaq, plain water, is basically the 7 types that we mentioned. So these are these types of water which one is permitted to use, and pure in themselves, and purifying, meaning one can attain tahara from it. One can purify themselves from it. One can remove hadath and najasa from themselves. So this is the first type. And then the second type, or the second category, here rahimahullah, he says pure and purifying, but it is makruh to use this type of water. Okay? The water itself is pure and purifying, but it is makruh to use this type of water. Now, Imam Nawawi rahimahullah, he says that no, it is not makruh at all. Okay, it is not makruh at all to use this type of water. And like we mentioned that rahimahullah ta'ala, he says وَهُوَ الْمَاءُ الْمُشَمَّسِ. So it is water which has been heated by the sun. Okay, and conditions have been given to this, that it has to be water which was open and it's had direct contact with the sun. Okay, water, and again, normally we find that back home, where, for example, at the top of your house you'll have big tanks of water and the likes. None.
What if you have a water bottle and you leave it outside?
Yeah, if you have a water bottle and it's open and direct sunlight, it will fall under this, that it becomes makruh to use. But like we said, according to Imam Nawawi rahimahullah, he says, no, this is not makruh at all. And the reason why you'll find in the Shafi'ī books that they mention this is because Imam Shafi'ī rahimahullah ta'ala, if I can remember correctly, he says that this brings about illness. When you use water which has been directly heated from the sun, it brings about illness. And I can remember a lot of my family as well, they're always telling me that water in the car which has been heated with the sun, you're not allowed to drink it, and so on. You can't use that kind of water. So he rahimahullah, he says this is the second type, which is pure in itself and purifying, but it is makruh for one to use this type of water. Khair.
Heated only by the sun.
Only the sun. Yeah, so only heated by the sun, and it's had direct contact. Next is water which is pure, but it is not purifying. Water in itself is pure, it can be used for other activities or other things, but it is not purifying, so one cannot remove any najasa, one cannot attain wudu or ghusl from it. Who can give me an example? Who can think of one?
Tea.
Okay, tea. Ribena. What else? Yeah, so sparkling water. Examples will be many, yeah? So it's pure in itself, so juices, for example, lemon juice, you've got your mum's cooking, for example, and then you just go, or your mum puts water, before she's making pasta and she puts salt in the water. Water is still pure, but you cannot perform wudu with that water. I will explain what that is, or why that is. So water in itself, that's the fourth category. And then we have the fifth category, which is impure water. So water is filthy in itself. It is not pure, and one cannot purify themselves with this water. Okay, so now what is impure water? According to the Shafi'ī fiqh, impure water, it is water which has any filth, that has been mixed with it, whilst the water itself is less than 2 qullatayn. Let me explain. Water which is less than 2 qullatayn is called, it's been mixed with any filth, whether it changes any characteristic or not, this water becomes impure, and one is not allowed to use it. Okay, one is not allowed to use it. Or water which is above 2 qullatayn, and qullatayn is about 216 liters of water, which is a lot of water. Yeah, so 216 liters, I don't know, how many liters do baths hold these days? Anyone know? Probably about 500 liters. I don't know. But yeah, so basically water which is less than 216 liters, if it is mixed with any impurity and it changes, and even if it doesn't change, it will become impure. Who can give me an example? Think.
Urine.
Yeah.
That's impure, that's mixed with water.
Yeah.
Urine.
Urine. Now someone might ask, who's going to do urine in stagnant water anyway?
Does it have to be urine?
No. Yeah, exactly. So, for example, children. Say you're bathing, or you're washing your child in a bathtub, and they urinate inside the water. That water becomes najis. So that water is not allowed to come onto you. Yeah, and if that water comes onto me, comes onto you, then those clothes they have najasa, and one is not allowed to pray in them. Understood? Yeah? No. Even if it doesn't change color, smell or taste. Okay? If it's less than 216 liters and it doesn't change color, smell or taste, then the water still becomes impure. But if the water is more than 216 liters and something impure goes in, but none of these three qualities change, the water remains pure. But if any one of these characteristics change of the water, it will render it impure. Who can give me an example of this?
Sewage leaks into a river.
No, sewage. No. Sewage leaks into a river, that's...
The river becomes...
Now, the river cannot become impure. Anything that's flowing, the river will not become impure. There's a hadith, if I've got it here, okay, I don't have the hadith, but there's a hadith where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he mentions that the rivers, they're pure. It's pure because it's flowing, so it's constantly just clean and clean and clean. Jazakallah khair. Swimming pool. Yeah, obviously, I'm sure majority of us have been to public swimming pools, or even with school, you've gone to swimming pools and so on, and people have done funny stuff inside. Yeah, which I don't need to go into detail of, obviously. People have done silly stuff. So, of course, it's more than 216 liters of water. So, as long as you don't see one of these characteristics change, that water will still remain as tahir. The water will still remain as tahir. Naam. Jazakumullah khair. Okay, with the presentations, inshallah, I think everyone's going to have to be on the same page. I stopped there with the presentations to prepare more, but we'll carry on, inshallah, with the next bit where the Musannif, he speaks about tanning hides and bones. Okay, to tan hides and bones. Inshallah, we'll go through the English, and then next week we'll go through the Arabic again, where we have it displayed for everyone. So, the Musannif, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that hides of unslaughtered animals, so the skin, okay, to tan skin and bones. The tanning of unslaughtered animals are purified through, so the skin of dead animals is purified by tanning it. And when we say tanning, it is that literal meaning of tanning, where it is the animal, his skin is obviously taken off the body, completely cleaned, because this animal unslaughtered, they are impure right now. Any dead animal who is not slaughtered according to Sharia and they pass away in that state, of course, except for which animals? Fish. Now, except for sea life, any land animal that passes away without being slaughtered, they are impure. And the only way to purify their skin, it is to obviously skin the body, clean the whole skin from impurities, and to leave it in the sun. You find some professionals now and so on, they probably add like chemicals to it, they'll add salt, and they'll add a lot of different things. So this animal, the skin is purified through tanning. I don't know if you've seen, if you can remember as well, back in school days, tambourines. Real tambourines, proper tambourines, I think from back home you've probably seen it. They've actually got like goat skin on it and so on. Okay, or like some of the coats that you lot might wear, proper sheep skin. It has to be pure. Remember, if you've bought it and it's not being purified according to Sharia, you cannot pray in that jacket. Okay? So if you've got any form of animal skin products, remember, if it's not according to Sharia, which most likely it's not, it becomes impure and one is not allowed to actually use it or pray in it and so on. Now, of course, this is except for the hides of dogs and pigs and their offspring. You cannot purify them wherever you want. Yani with whatever you try, whatever you do, they cannot be purified. They are najis from the day Allah creates them till the day Allah takes their soul. Okay, they remain impure. So one might ask, why these two animals only, or dog, man's best friend, how can it be najis and so on? Allah creates what He wills and He chooses from what He wills, and He creates the rules. We know according to Imam Malik rahimahullah, of course, he's got the opinion that the dog is not impure. Yeah, the dog is not impure. But that doesn't give one the permission to go and actually take a dog and own a dog, because we know dogs are only allowed to be kept for certain reasons. You're not allowed to have a pet dog, unfortunately. Yeah, you cannot have a pet dog, so you can only have a dog who remembers the reasons, as per Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Because of the saliva.
Yeah, so the dog, obviously the whole body is not impure. Only the front part of the dog, so the saliva or the wet part of the dog is impure if it comes onto one's garments. Naam.
Some people say, if you get there's a treatment that you can get so the dog's saliva doesn't come out.
Yeah, you can cauterize I've done a lot of research into it.
Or what, for stopping dogs from having saliva coming out?
Because obviously that's the debate, right? If it touches you, then you can't.
Okay, I don't know. I'm not a dog specialist, unfortunately. But I don't know, who would do that anyway?
I know
To stop dog saliva from coming out? Okay, khair, well, you're lucky if you meet one on the train then, innit? You don't have to wash your clothes 7 times. And with regards to dogs as well and their saliva and their impurity, we know, according to the Shafi'ī fiqh, you have to wash. Whenever the dog's saliva comes into contact with your garments or with anything, this part needs to be purified or washed 7 times. Now there's ikhtilaf whether, and once has to be with earth, pure earth. It has to be with pure earth. Now there's many narrations, some mention the first needs to be with earth, some say the last needs to be with earth, and so on. But regardless, the maqsad here is you need to use pure earth to clean that area first. You have to use pure earth to clean that area first. And according to the Ahnaf, they say no, it doesn't have to be 7 times. They say even 3 times is sufficient, so long as when the purity is attained. Because they say, look, the maqsad of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying 7 times is basically to show that one has to be very careful to make sure that the impurities are completely gone. And if you do something 7 times, 100% it's clean. So they say, no, that's what the hadith means, but we take the literal meaning of the hadith, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he told us that you have to wash it 7 times. Now, so anyway, with regards, and then the Musannif, he says, the bones and hair of unslaughtered animals are filth except from human beings. Okay, the hair and bones of unslaughtered animals are filth except from human beings. And over here we're talking, of course, about the dead, the mayyit, the dead animal. Yeah, the dead animal, this is when they are impure. Because, for example, I'm sure many people own cats here. If they release, fur comes out and so on, it's not impure, and so on. Khair. Next, the Musannif. So is that clear? Any questions on that? So the bones and hair of unslaughtered dead animals are impure, except of course for human beings. But we said, remember, it's key over here to understand dead animals, because some might have cats and so on, they leave fur everywhere. It doesn't make things impure. Are we clear with regards to dogs and their impurities? Yeah? Khair. Next, the Musannif, he talks about, he says, فصل ولا يجوز استعمال أواني الذهب والفضة ويجوز استعمال غيرهما من الأواني. So he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, that it is not permissible to use gold or silver utensils or containers, whatever, cutlery, whatever you want to call it. We are not allowed to use these. So, and then he says it is permissible to use containers made from materials other than this. Unfortunately, you'll find these days where you go and meet senior people or high class people, they have gold utensils. They'll eat from real gold, forks, they'll use gold knives, some have gold plates, silver plates and so on. It is haram for us to use these, for men and women. None.
Just the material or the colour?
No, not the color. Color is fine. It has to be al-dhahab wal-fidda. It has to be real gold and real silver. No.
So, like solid. Like what I'm saying is, if you have a plate with a gold pattern on it, that class as...
I think that's a good question. You'll have some ulama, they will differ on this. They say it depends on the amount of gold that is on that. So you'll find a lot of ulama, they said, yes, there is an excusable amount, whereby if it's only a bit, then it's fine. But if one knows that something is real gold, then it is better you stay away from it. Remember, you get rewarded for staying away from such acts, lest you fall into actual sin. Okay, so, and this is with regards to men and women, okay, using gold and silver utensils. But when it comes to wearing gold and silver, we know that for men, it is haram to wear what? Gold. Yeah, it is haram to wear gold. Now, this gold will include gold-plated, it will include white gold, and all of these other types of golds that they are. I don't know, these are the only types that I know. Full gold, gold-plated, and white gold. Are there any more? Rose gold. Hey, he knows his stuff, mashallah. What else? Any other type of gold? Okay, these are the only golds that I know. So pure gold, rose gold, white gold, mashallah, white gold. It doesn't count because it's gold. Because basically, rose gold, white gold, all it is actual yellow gold, the actual gold, but they add chemicals to it just to change its color. That's all they do. So it's actual, this kind of gold you're not allowed to wear. None.
So it's for like medical reasons, like denture and stuff like that?
Medical reason, perfectly fine. In Sharia, medical reasons, mashallah, showing me his teeth. Yeah, so medical reasons, according to Sharia, many things are permissible. Okay, so that's just a principle you need to understand and apply to your daily life. If it's for a medical reason, for example, like salah, you can't do sajda for a medical reason. You're allowed to pray seated. You can't stand, you can pray seated. You can't sit down, you can lay down and so on. So we said, any form of gold, the man is not allowed to wear. Pure gold, so yellow gold, white gold, rose gold, gold-plated, all of these are not allowed. But if it's fake, bismillah. Majority of us wear fake anyway. Yeah, so if you're to ask me, it's better that you don't even wear fake gold, because people will know it's fake anyway. Yeah, so just don't wear it. No.
In some watches, the actual face isn't gold, but the mechanisms contain gold also, like a gold screw or like a steel.
Yeah, so that will fall under excusable amount. So very minimum, some scholars will tell you, of course, it's excusable. But those kind of things you might not know anyway. You'll have to do like unnecessary research to find out.
Obviously, that might be a reason why you're not wearing it.
Yeah, now of course, if you know and you stay away from it, alhamdulillah, your reward is with Allah. You stay away from it. Like we said, there's certain things now, see, we walked into the grey area there, where someone would say, no, it's not haram though, it's only a bit of gold, it's just permissible. But if you can stay away from that, whatever mas'ala, if you can stay away from the grey area, then alhamdulillah, that is the best thing you can do for yourself. Okay, regardless of the mas'ala. Just stay away from the grey area. You've got nothing to lose. What's a watch? You get another one. Don't need it to be there. Or if you really want gold on it, get fake. No problem. It's pleasing to the eye, that's all it is. It has no...
It's not the actual watch, it's like the mechanism.
I know, the mechanism inside and so on.
So you don't even see that.
Yeah, but still, if you notice there, you're wearing it, isn't it? So it's better you don't. So, now, that's with regards to wearing gold. Get a platinum thing. I don't know, get an iced out watch or something with diamonds and stuff. It looks better than gold.
It's still white gold, it's still classed as white.
No, diamonds.
Because even some of the watches, when they replaced it, it's still
No, you could get watches that are just iced and no.
No, but the actual watch.
No, you get silver or platinum watches that are iced, for example.
Stainless steel.
Yeah, stainless steel and the likes, you do get them. Yeah? Where's the... Sorry?
The mechanism still got gold in it.
No, not all of them have gold.
A majority. I think Rolex have said that, like, basically at 99.5%.
Don't have to have Rolex. Start your own, inshallah, your own make. No? So, it's khair. So, in short, summary to that basically is if you know the watch has, even if it's minute amount of gold, if you can't stay away, stay away from it. Because I know ulama have said there is a minimum amount of gold that, okay, there's an excusable amount one can be excused from.
What to buy to keep.
Yeah, I was getting to that next. Remember, only wearing is haram. To own gold, to keep gold, this is permissible. No problem whatsoever. You've got gold ornaments, for example, displayed in your house. I don't know, you've got a picture or canvas at home that's got gold on it. Nothing wrong with this whatsoever. Okay, so if you've got a watch right now and you feel like, oh man, why did he have to say it? It's this minimum gold, I can't wear it now. If you want, sell it. Get money for it, inshallah. No? Okay, hang it up on your wall. Now, okay, so that's with regards to gold and gold utensils and so on, yeah? Not permissible to use them. There's many stories of our pious predecessors who were invited to certain places and they refused to eat. They were invited by kings and so on, and they refused to eat from these kind of material. Okay, these utensils. The next topic he mentions is with regards to the miswak. Okay, now, so the Musannif, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, فصل والسواك مستحب في كل حال إلا بعد الزوال للصائم. So he says, rahimahullah ta'ala, using the miswak, yeah, we know what the miswak is, I'm sure all of us know, is recommended, or remember we said mustahab could fall under sunnah and so on, is mustahab at every time, except after zawal for the fasting person. So except after midday for the one who is fasting, it's makruh according to the Shafi'ī madhab to use the miswak after midday for the fasting person. Now someone might say, no, but the Prophet ﷺ used it before every salah and we know that, so how can it be makruh and the likes? The hadith that we use for this, or the hadith that Imam Shafi'ī rahimahullah ta'ala he uses for this, he says, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, السواك مطهرة للفم ومرضاة للرب. The siwak is a purification of the mouth and it's pleasing to the Lord. And then he also uses another hadith where he, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, الخلوف فم الصائم أطيب عند الله من ريح المسك. So the smell of the mouth of the fasting person is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than musk. Okay, so the smell of the mouth of the fasting person is more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than musk. So because of this hadith, not the first one was just a fadila of as-siwak. So due to this hadith, Imam Shafi'ī rahimahullah ta'ala, he says one should not use miswak after zawal, because you don't want to change the smell of your mouth and so on. Some people might be thinking, nah, my mouth is peak in the morning and stuff like that, and you want to change it. But of course there are certain situations or certain times where you can use it, or especially when it's recommended to use it. The Musannif, he mentions it over here. وَهُوَ فِي ثَلَاثَةِ مَوَاضِعَ أَشَدُّ اسْتِحْبَابًا. So in 3 places it is very, very recommended to use it. Okay, there's 3 situations where it's highly recommended to use the miswak. Number 1, he, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, عند تغير الفم من أزم أو غيره. So he says, rahimahullah, when the taste of the mouth changes. Okay, when the taste of the mouth changes, or it becomes stale and it's not good, for example, due to fasting or something else. There's times where if you stay long without eating, your mouth can obviously bring out a not so nice odor. Yeah, so it's recommended to do that. And to mention on top of that is, even when your mouth changes, the smell changes on a normal day, non-fasting day, your mouth changes from something that you've eaten. I don't know, you've come out from a spice hut, you just had some onions or something. Yeah, I don't know, doner, and you come out, you've got smelling of onions. Yeah, or those that smoke, wal-iyadhu billah, you need to use the miswak to get rid of that smell. Naam, got a question? No.
Would brushing your teeth take the same ruling as miswak?
See, there would be ikhtilaf in that. Some say the literal meaning it has to be taken. You have to use the siwak, especially because it's available for us. We have to use the miswak. But of course, you've got contemporary ulama. They say no. The whole point of this is to purify the mouth. So anything that you use to purify the mouth, it will you will fit into this category. He, rahimahullah ta'ala, so like we said, if when the mouth changes, smell and so on, it's good to use the miswak. Examples are countless, and he also says, وَإِنْدَ الْقِيَامِ مِنَ النَّوْمِ, and when getting up after sleep. So when waking up, of course, this is when it's the custom of people, and when you wake up, you use the miswak because the breath of your mouth would have changed and gone down south. And then he mentions وَعِنْدَ الْقِيَامِ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ, and upon standing for salah. So when you stand up for salah, so just before iqamah and so on, it is recommended, or it is sunnah, to actually perform to use the miswak. You have some ulama, they say no, it's actually recommended to do it at the time of wudu and not when standing for salah. But according to our madhab, the musannif rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, right before praying, it is recommended for us to use the miswak. Are there any questions with regards to today's lesson? No.
So we're talking about the 4 types of purity of water.
No.
The last one is being impure. So when we do wudu, the water that's left behind from wudu, to my understanding, is impure, correct?
No. So that will fall under pure water that is not purifying. So, if you can remember, we said 4 categories of water, right? Water which is pure and purifying, which is not makruh to use, and water which is pure and purifying, but it is makruh to use. And we said there's only one type in this category, which is water which has been heated by the sun. And the third type, which we mentioned, was pure but is not purifying, is water which has already been used, for example, for wudu, leftover water for wudu. It is not permissible for one to try and do wudu again and so on with regards to that. Now, saying that, use water for wudu, if, for example, you're doing water and few droplets fall into a bucket that you're using and so on, then that's an excusable amount and there's nothing wrong with that. Because we know, of course, the Prophet ﷺ, with some of his wives, they've narrated that they used to perform wudu from the same tub, from the same pot they used to perform wudu. Any more questions or? Khair, inshallah, I think we'll stop there then. آخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Actually, one thing I forgot to mention is that the structure of the lesson that inshallah we will adopt is we will mention the mas'ala, so whatever the point is, and we will mention our daleel, When I say our, I mean the Shafi'i madhab. And if there are any counteracts, if there's any madhab that says no, this is what needs to be done and this is their proof, and we will mention that, and then we will mention our answer to whatever objections any madhahib have, inshaAllah ta'ala. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. السلام عليكم.